Have you ever looked back on your earlier years and thought, wow, I used to think that was what really mattered? It's a strange but powerful realization, isn't it? Because with age comes clarity. The kind of clarity you simply don't have in your 20s or 30s. You start to understand that many of the things you once chased didn't actually mean connection. Especially when it comes to intimacy. For both men and women in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, intimacy begins to look less like a performance and more like presence. It becomes less about physical image, ego, or bravado, and more about meaning, more about energy, more about emotional rhythm. And today we're diving into one of the most misunderstood, joked about, and rarely explored truths in relationships. The penis 90% of women actually want. Now, I know, just hearing that phrase may raise a few eyebrows, but before your mind goes to size or comparison, let me be very clear. This isn't about inches. It's about understanding. Because the truth is, what most women find attractive in a man's body, especially when it comes to his most private parts, changes as they grow older. Their desires evolve, their needs deepen, and what once seemed important fades into something far more meaningful. Let's start right there. With the contrast between what younger women are taught to value versus what mature women actually discover matters. In youth, there's a heavy influence from movies, magazines, peer conversations, pornography. And the message is loud. Bigger is better. Harder is sexier. Performance is everything. Younger women, many of whom are still forming their own understanding of intimacy, often repeat this narrative. They might genuinely believe that size equals satisfaction, but that belief often comes from what they've been shown, not what they've felt. But with life, with real relationships, with marriage, with motherhood, with disappointment, with growth, many women start to realize something incredibly important, that the best experiences have nothing to do with length or girth, and everything to do with emotional trust, connection, and care. They stop chasing fantasy and start craving something deeper. Now let's look at the body itself. Because a woman's physical experience of intimacy changes over time too. Hormonal changes throughout life, during pregnancy, after giving birth, and especially through menopause, create significant shifts in physical comfort, sensation, arousal patterns, lubrication, emotional need for gentleness. Things that once felt good or tolerable at 25 may now feel uncomfortable, even painful. What she once romanticized, fast, deep, intense intimacy, can now be something she tenses against. What she needs now is different, softer, slower, safer. She needs a partner who doesn't rush, who reads her cues, who isn't focused on going deep, but on connecting deeply. And here's the thing. Foreplay isn't 5 minutes before the act. For a mature woman, foreplay is a gentle conversation that made her feel heard, a text that made her smile during the day, a hand on her back as you pass by in the kitchen, the way you held her after dinner, with no agenda. That emotional preparation isn't optional anymore. It's what opens the door to her body's readiness. And in that space, size matters far, far less, because what her heart responds to isn't pressure, it's presence. Now let's talk about what happens after. Because here's the truth. What happens after intimacy often matters just as much, if not more, than what happens during. For a woman who's experienced distance, emotional silence, or unavailable partners, the moment after is where she evaluates one thing. Did I just share myself with someone who truly respected me? Aftercare doesn't need to be complicated. It can be laying there quietly, holding her hand, stroking her hair, whispering something gentle, just being there. No rush, no performance. That silence, it speaks volumes, because it tells her everything she needs to know about how much you actually care. Let me bring this to life. A woman in her early 30s once said, "When I was younger, I thought bigger was better. Now I realize the best sex I ever had was with a man who wasn't large at all, but he was slow, tender. He listened to my body like it mattered." Another woman, 48, recently divorced after a long marriage, said, "I used to believe the hype, what movies and magazines told me. But now I crave softness, a partner who takes his time, not someone trying to perform, but someone who actually sees me." And a woman in her 60s, she said it best, "At this age, I'm not interested in being impressed. I want to be embraced. I want someone who makes love with his heart, not just his body." These are not exceptions, they're reflections. And they reflect a powerful truth most men have never been taught. Psychology facts about women, hidden female preferences in human behavior. So let's return to the core question. What is the penis 90% of women actually want? It's not about the physical look. It's not about standing out visually. It's not about being long, hard, or fast. It's about how it feels in the moment, how it moves with her, not against her. How it respects her pace, her comfort, her emotions, how it responds to her breath, her body language, her needs. This is the real intimacy women over 50 crave. Not a tool for conquest, but an extension of trust, rhythm, and emotional sensitivity. And none of those qualities come from anatomy. They come from presence, from maturity, from you. A message to men who feel insecure about size. So if you've spent years, even decades, worrying that you don't measure up, let this be the truth that sets you free. Because here's what most women in their 50s, 60s, and beyond are not looking for. They're not looking for the biggest. They're not comparing you to porn stars. They're not craving the same things they might have wanted at 25. What are they looking for? A man who is present, not performing. A man who knows how to listen with his hands. A man who understands that intimacy is built in the hours before the bedroom. A man who slows down, breathes deeply, and lets go of pressure. That's what makes you magnetic. That's what makes you unforgettable. And that's the kind of man she remembers with softness and longing, not soreness and regret. Let's be honest, you don't need to compete with youth. In fact, most mature women aren't comparing you to younger men at all. They're comparing you to what feels real. And real? Real is different. Real doesn't rush. Real doesn't demand. Real doesn't push. Real holds space. Real feels her energy. Real pays attention. That's what she remembers the next morning. That's what she craves when she lies awake at night, wondering if anyone still knows how to love like that. You can be that man, right now, as you are. So when we say, this is the penis 90% of women actually want, we're really talking about something much deeper than the physical. We're talking about the man behind it, the presence he brings, the energy he shares, the patience he shows, the emotional intelligence he's cultivated over years of learning what love really is. It's not about domination, it's about devotion. It's not about action, it's about attunement. Because when a man meets her where she is physically, emotionally, and energetically, something profound happens. She lets go, she opens, she receives, and that's the moment where intimacy stops being physical and becomes sacred. If this message resonates with you, if you're tired of surface-level advice, of being told to be more alpha or just go harder, if you're ready to explore what women really respond to after 50, you are in the right place. This channel is for men who are rediscovering their confidence, reconnecting with their partners, reclaiming their power, not through ego, but through emotional strength, learning how to love again, better this time. We talk about female psychology, emotional bonding, relationship skills, and the deep, often hidden truths that most men were never taught. So if you haven't already, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Because here, you're not just watching more videos, you're joining a circle of grounded, wise men. Men who are learning how to show up fully, love deeply, and connect in ways that create intimacy that lasts. You'll get thoughtful insights, step-by-step tools, and real, honest conversations that help you become not just a better lover, but a better man. Let's walk this path together, one honest conversation at a time.